Awesome. Welcome to Fresh Off the Board. This is season 2, and we're delighted to have a reformatted version of our podcast. It is a series of interviews with students I've known, have worked with. Today, we also have a very interesting student, grad school student who's pursuing a master's in computer science at Columbia University. So, Vansh, why don't you introduce yourself quickly, and then we'll dive into the new format of this podcast.
Sure. Thanks, Arjun. My name is Suvansh. I'm currently pursuing a master's from Columbia University in New York. And I did my undergrad from VIT Vellore which is in Tamil Nadu. And I specialize in computer science there. And that's where I realized my passion for machine learning and data science. Before I joined Columbia, I was working as a data scientist at Make My Trip in Bangalore, and that's kind of what led me to realize that I wanted to pursue a master's degree at Columbia, and with the help of Edbrand, I was able to apply successfully to my dream college.
Yeah, I had no doubt that you would have a fairly good lineup of colleges vying for your candidature. So anyway, so it was lovely just getting that introduction from you. I don't know if I had been able to do that. So it's a good summary of his journey from Vellore Institute of Tech to working at Make My Trip, data science AI project that you did there, and then finally, of course, making it. So this edition and the season of our podcast is slightly differently designed. Very often students wanted to know, tell us the main thing. How does one get into a school like Columbia? So the nitty-gritty of that. So that we move to the first part of the podcast now. And the second part of the podcast is how is it like studying at Columbia and also life in the university and sort of pre-professional setting of New York City. So the first question to you, what do you think worked in your candidature? What was the preparation that you did to make it to a top school like Columbia?
So I believe for grad students, the most important aspects would be their their previous work or academic experiences. So I worked for a couple of years as a data scientist, so that worked in my favor, I believe, because I was basically able to talk about some interesting projects or some relevant projects in my SOP, and I was able to. Those were things that I actually worked on, and I gained the technical knowledge as well as maybe I had the ability to speak about them in video interviews as well. So and it's not just the technical knowledge that you gain, but also maybe you encounter some challenges or you work with other teammates. So those kind of experiences are what maybe what the panels look for while assessing your application. And as important as work experiences, I believe research experiences equally important. Um, if you have some publications or if you work with some professors and conduct some fruitful research, that's also valuable experience that you can take into your that you can highlight in your application, and that should definitely have some significance.
So demonstrating depth is what I'm hearing in terms of pre-professional preparation or even academic research and possibilities of doing projects. So typically for a student applying to university and a coveted university like Columbia, do you think, especially in computer science, showing your work, having a demonstrated sort of history of not just work in terms of internships and jobs, but also projects and competitions and hackathons and other things. So what all do you think makes a good profile for a computer science application?
Yeah, in the end, it's projects, whether it's through work or whether it's through hackathons or it's just some personal projects that you take up. In the end, it's those projects that you want to talk about, and You want to show what you learned from that, not both both in terms of maybe, so like let's say you're applying to CS in a particular field, whether it's machine learning or maybe cybersecurity. You want to show how you developed further develop your interest in that field, and highlight any other learnings that you had, maybe relate that to the real world, what it is that uh, you think that this can be applied to in the real world, and why you want to why you think that your master's degree will help you do that.
So
um,
I think let's dig this a little deeper, because in your profile there were so many amazing things you did at Make My Trip, also otherwise at university level. So what would be something you'd want to share? The kind of projects you did, the kind of learning that you developed, some of the collaborations that you had to do, even personal projects. It'd be fun to know.
Um, what I liked about the environment that Make My Trip was, despite being a fresher who's working as a data scientist, I still had enough responsibilities, had a lot of responsibilities, and that included collaborating with the product team or with the revenue team. So there was a lot of communication, that across team communication, and as well as intra-team communication, um, that I had to improve on, and that was definitely one thing that I felt uh, was important in the projects that I did. Additionally, I was able to work with some a lot of, you can say, state of the art techniques, and uh, it was kind of maybe a lucky opportunity for me, but I was the projects that I worked on helped me develop both my soft skills as well as my technical skills. So but in addition to that, like personal projects, it's just I would say the way I approached them was, if I wanted to learn a new technology or learn a new language, I would maybe try to develop that as a mini project, and just start working on that.
The other aspects of the application, where you write essays, get letters of recommendations. I know we spent hours just going over topics and ideating and brainstorming, and there are also supplemental short questions in different universities. This also ties in with the interview prep, because the way you think about essays is going to be tested when you're interviewed. And so it should be pretty much the stories that you really resonate, stories that resonate with you, that you need to put down on paper. What was your experience of sort of writing essays, and why did you choose topics that you wanted to highlight? And what are the many things you might have actually not put because there was no space to?
So yeah, I think the SOP is like the most challenging part of the application, and I I think it was through like several conversations with you and with Yashi that I was finally able to pinpoint what it is that what I actually wanted to put down in my essay. So definitely what I wanted, what I wanted to show was like a journey from maybe how I started with one project, and uh, I was able to show my growth and my learnings, and what led me to actually applying to that particular university, and the particular professors or courses that interest me at that university. So I think that included highlighting um, 3 or 4 of the most relevant projects for that particular course, and talking about my like the challenges I faced, or what outcomes came out, what resulted from those projects. um, and that definitely um, showed that not only do I implement things, but I don't. It's not like I just implement those projects and forget about them. I take learnings from them and carry that forward to whatever I do next. And I think those kind of things are what maybe the panelists are looking for.
I think that's an excellent piece of advice. It's not just a replacement of your resume and maybe paragraphs. And it's not just always about achievement, it's about growth and that journey of self reflection, which eventually leads to achievement. But it's put in a humble way, which
Right.
tells us about you as an individual and not just a extended version of a resume. So fantastic.
Exactly.
Moving forward, there is always this thing about getting the right letters of recommendations. Quickly, what would you advise students to do, or students who are working, eventually working, to also do to figure out how to get the right letters of recommendations, who to approach, what should be as a preparation to hopefully persuade your recommenders to cover certain aspects of your profile which help you in the process?
I think application reviewers definitely know can identify from your letter of recommendation whether you've worked closely with that professor or recommender or not. And I think that is that definitely affects uh, how seriously they will take that recommendation. So I would definitely say approach those professors, or maybe if you have had an internship or worked previously, approach your direct manager and ask them to give your recommendations, because they will, whatever they write will definitely be from the heart and will be truthful, and uh, it'll it will reflect well on your while your application is being reviewed. So I think I would say that is important. um, so in terms of professors, that could mean that you've taken a course with them, and you've done well in their course, so they know you through that. So maybe you've actively participated in their classes, in discussions, or you could have also done a project under them. Maybe whether that is part of your course or not, but that's definitely one way that you get close to a professor and they know more about you and what you can do, and they would definitely be willing to give you a recommendation. Yeah, I think that's probably how you would identify good recommenders.
Thanks. I think now let's move on to the second part of our podcast, which is personally, I feel the more fun part. Like first time when you got your acceptance letter and started preparing for university, planning to live in New York City, very different from Gurgaon, where both of us are. When you finally landed there and started settling in, how was it like in terms of your academic journey?
So probably the a good decision I made was to go 3 to 4 weeks before my semester actually began. So I was able to settle in properly before my academics actually started. And during that time, I was also able to explore the city and the different, like have the proper sightseeing and touristy part done before the semester began. So I would recommend that to anyone who's traveling to a new city, to definitely go a couple of weeks in advance and explore the city, because once your semester starts, you may not understand where you'll get the time from. Because in grad school, what I realized is that uh, the courses are probably much more um, they have they're very demanding. There are assignments that are due every couple of weeks for each of the course, and then there will be midterms and final exams, or even projects for most of the courses. In addition to that, you're always searching for internships, because you're generally want to do summer internships, and most companies in the US will start the applications for the summer internships in the previous fall, so around September, October. And so that is another thing that you have to keep focusing on. So your time to explore the city or do anything else like fun things definitely gets reduced it's not like you don't have time. I mean, I don't want to scare people off, but you definitely, I think one of the most important things I learned in my first semester was how to manage my time properly. And it takes some time to adapt to the rigors of US grad school, but especially coming from an Indian college. But I think once you adapt to that, you'll realize how a rewarding grad school can be.
Fantastic. So, that kind of answers my last question also, but I'll still ask you to elaborate on life gyan or gyan that you would want to give students who wish to apply to either university for undergrad or grad abroad. What is it that you would suggest they keep in mind?
Um, yeah, I mean, definitely expect it to be more rigorous, but it'll definitely be fun. There's even while studying, you'll realize there's so much to learn, and it's actually quite. I personally I found it to motivate me even like motivate me to study that a particular subject even further and dive more into research papers. And currently I'm applying to a couple of research positions next semester. um, so uh, it's even the academic part is fun, but um, and at the same time, like living in a city like New York, don't want to miss out on all that it has to offer. So um, definitely the going a couple of weeks early allowed me to identify places that I liked and explore all the things that I had on my bucket list, so that I could do that before the semester began. But even during the semester, I've started to take out time and like go out with friends and just see, like downtown Manhattan is a great place to be. So just exploring that.
Hey, thanks for sharing all that you have been doing in your first semester, or rather full year, right? It's been for you.
It's a no, just the first semester right now.
Yeah. So great. So looking forward to following up on our conversation maybe later in the year. And all the best.